Absolutely wonderful to be back with the crew here down in Juma, South Africa. I'm teamed up with VM on camera, and I've just enjoyed a 2-week break down in the southern tip of this fine continent, down in Cape Town and the surroundings, and enjoying being back on this beautiful sunny low-felt afternoon. It's probably somewhere into the 90s Fahrenheit, quite a hot afternoon, not much of a breeze, and I think a lot of the animals will buzz. And shame, I hear he's hoping on finding a leopard this afternoon. He must be missing spending time with leopard, because this is the place where you want to be looking, down here on Juma in the Sabi Sands. So who knows, maybe we will get lucky. I know Noel, who is also out this afternoon, is searching for Tandy. She was also elusive this morning, so Noel ended up. And Steve's also out on a bushwalk, so you'll also get to catch up with him a little bit later. Our plan is to head up to the Buffalo's Hook Waterhole in the hope that we'll be able to deploy Ronald the Rover, who's eating juice, and maybe we'll get to park him down by the water edge and see if he can come down and drink next to him. I'm not with him yet. Sites over the last few weeks. Magic. Well, like I said, Noel is hoping to try and work out where Tandy ended up. Spent a lot of time looking for her this morning, so why don't you go and get an update to see how her search is coming along.
Hello everyone, welcome to a very hot Juma. I believe it's about 35 degrees Celsius, which is about 95 degrees Fahrenheit. We're baking, we're cooking. So after we left the tracks for Tandy this morning, Herbie came and picked them up, and Herbie gave me a little shout this afternoon and says he's found her. So now I'm trying to find where Herbie found her, and I'm working off of his directions at the moment, and we're thinking that it's not too far from here. So we use certain street signs, let's call them. So there's a leopard orchid that's there in the tree. So that's part of our street signs, is that leopard orchid. Just to the right there. There we go, perfect. There's our leopard orchid. And we're on the road we were told to be on, and now we have to go northeast from the leopard orchid, but she's on the western side of the road. So it should be around this corner. Now it's quite hot, so I think follow me. I don't think she will have moved too much. I do think she gave Davi and I the runaround. Oh, and by the way, I'm horrible. I am Noel, and on camera I have Davi, so sorry I did not introduce properly. Davi's saying hello, and I'm saying hello again. And I can see where Herbie turned around, and that was part of it. So the western side of the road is over here, and the northeast of the leopard orchid is just over here. So we are going to just scout around in the shady bits. I actually think that I'm going to have to maybe reverse and go back in to where the leopard orchid is exactly, but I just want to check around the corner here. And I think while I'm busy searching, let's go over to Steve. It's so good to have Scotty D back. Oh, and it's good to have David on interview. Good luck, David. Let's go over to my friend Steve and see what he's up to for this afternoon for bushwalk.
And a warm, sunny welcome to you from Juma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. My name is Steve Falconbridge, and I'm joined by Mr. Seb on the camera. Welcome, folks. It is a very nice, warm 35 degrees Celsius, 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Herbie is with us out here, giving us some assistance, and we are walking to keep in the shade. Yes, it is wonderful to have Herbie with us this morning, but it's also wonderful to have Mr. Scotty D back. Scott and I are friends from many years ago, and I think it's probably been 3-4 years since I've seen him, and it's nice to have him back. We've got a lot of catching up to do, and welcome to David and his interview. I hope he does well up there in the Masai Mara, which I believe he already is doing wonderfully. So folks, we have kind of moved northwest from our camp, and we're heading in a direction where Herbie heard some alarm calls this morning. And alarm calls generally mean cats. So we're kind of headed in that direction. We're going to try keep to the drainage lines. There's also a special tree that I'm looking for this afternoon. Quite a magnificent and tall tree that often occurs, or majority of the time, in drainage lines. So hopefully by following them we'll be able to find one of my favorite trees. Even though it's not flowering this time of year, it's still a very important tree, and I'm sure with Herbie's guidance and the use of this wonderful book we will find what I'm looking for. But on that note, while we're walking, there are lots of wonderful wonders, beautiful things, the smells and the sounds of the bush. We're going to be exploring them. We're going to be interacting with them, so please feel free to send your questions through to @SafariLive, the Twitter handle @SafariLive, or on the YouTube stream. We've got a baby warthog just there. They're just here next to the pan. Oh, look at that. Animals on foot straight away. That's fantastic. Little piglets and mom. Their eyesight is not great, and looks like the female is busy looking at Herbie, who's just up on our left. Oh, it's a pity they moved away. Okay, we're not going to do too much disturbance. We're going to move away from this water pan. It is very important to not influence these animals while they try to drink. That was a fluke, and we're going to move around and let them come back. Don't chase them away. And while we do so, we're going to be going up to the Masai Mara with David on his interview.
Very good. Number one, a very big jumbo to the crew in South Africa. Tell them very, very big thank you from David in Kenya here in Masai Mara. And I really want to thank them a lot. Tell them Happy New Year. And hopefully I'm going to satisfy the bosses and see what happens in the near future. Thank you again and again. Still here enjoying the elephants. And we were just seeing one big female elephant that had a little deformed tusk that one looked like coming out sideways. It's exactly what I was talking earlier about having L's. You can see it there very well. If you look on the right hand, or the right hand tusk is facing outward. And thank God when Ellies are born, they're born without their tusks. Unlike some animals, say like the hyenas, maybe if they're born with their teeth on, it could be quite a challenge to bring down the calf if the tusks were already developed as they grow, as they mature. So occasionally that will be seen, and there's one also I saw the other day that had the tusk crossing over. I'm not sure if in the background you can hear some yasks. Thank you very much, Juma. July, August, it's my favorite season. We'll always have come to the end of the long rains, and the grass is green, a lot to eat, and above all, it's the time for the migration. It's just a breathtaking time to be here, and should you come, not less than a week. I'm talking of about, if you can, 2 weeks. 10 days, and you can come and see what Safari Life does, because they will move with the migration with you, and you'll just love it. You'll be out the whole day and not wanting to go back to the camp unless for a quick shower and back again in the bush. So July, August, to me, anytime, be our guest. Come and visit Kenya. You'll find out for me, Megan, how many, whether Gemma has been here or whether she would want to come this year, visit, or next year, do a safari. Asante sana. I haven't seen as many elephants missing their tails. They might have when young, maybe, unfortunately, predators would want to come and try to bring them down, but not missing per se. But occasionally you see one or two. But we have also noticed when they are playful, you'll get the big ones playing with the young ones and holding them by the tails. Unfortunately, they snap and they lose them, but they got nothing to do with poaching or predators. But when they're so playful, you get, especially the boys, the ones that will be missing the tails will be more males than the females. Thank you, Lisa. Clouds are building up now. I'm not sure, we might have some little showers later, but we can hear some thunderstorm. But so far so good. Chris, thank you. I mean, the weather, I'm not sure it's global warming, I would say, but this is, sometimes the last few years we've seen the weather in Africa and most in Kenya becoming very, very erratic. We point a finger to global warming, as the experts will tell us exactly what's happening. But this is very normal in the Mara, especially this month of January as we go to February, looking a little hazy or misty, but it's a very normal time, and for us we see this a lot. It's cooling off now, very, very good temperatures. And if you look at all the earlies there, as my cameraman is pointing, they're not flapping their ears as like an hour, 2 hours ago. An indication that it's very favorable weather for them, because when it's pretty hot, you'll get their ears being very, very busy. So they slow down now and they concentrate more on feeding before it gets dark. Very good. We still keep hearing the thunderstorms. I'm not sure you can hear them from the camera there, but they will not stop us seeing the elephants. We would stay here as long as we have the good light, and the park rules will allow us to be here. And tell us, Scott, what's happening in South Africa.
Hello everyone, we have just hit the jackpot and we've come across this elephant that's having a swim. It's literally just decided to plonk itself down into the middle of this waterhole, and it was one of the most epic things to be watching. So what a bonus. VM said just before we arrived here that it's usually like the moon, this waterhole. And that there hasn't been many animals here the last few times he's been here, so I'm glad this time around we've got lucky. What a wonderful scene. Now what I am going to do at some point in time is deploy the Rover, which is a kind of a vehicle that's got a little camera on it, and try and get it down to the water's edge just so we can show you what it looks like from eye level. Sadly, he's a little bit far away for now, but who knows, maybe he will decide to come out somewhere closer to the water's edge. He's not here alone. There is also another elephant, not quite as big as him, but also a young boy, as well as some hippopotamus who have both just dipped their heads under the water. So quite a few large mammals going about their business here. And I'm just going to shuffle around for a second and deploy old Ronald quickly. So, ooh, give me a second. Okay, everyone, we're just going to welcome on some other viewers on some other platforms, so I'm going to keep quiet for a second. Good afternoon, everyone who's just joined us. We are coming to you live from the Sabi Sands in South Africa, and it is a blistering hot afternoon. My name is Scott, and I'm teamed up with VM on camera, and we've just stumbled upon this awesome scene of an elephant taking a swim. And on hot summer afternoons like this. It's not uncommon for them to do this, but we were very lucky. He literally started to bath about a minute or two ago. So looking forward to seeing if possibly another young elephant who's joining him here at the Waterhole might join him a little bit later. Look at him stretching out like that. And if I was an elephant, I would be doing exactly this, because it is the best way to cool down in this harsh African heat. It's probably upwards of 90 degrees Fahrenheit, just to give you an idea of how hot it is, and it's quite a humid area that we're in. So hot and sticky. And luckily for them, they are not really under major threat from any crocodiles. If there were any crocodiles in here, the Ellies are not going to have an issue, whereas we of course would. Sandra, welcome to have, wonderful to have you with us, and you say these are your favorite animals. Well, this is certainly one of my favorite things to watch your favorite animal do, Sandra. And I'm surprised the other one who's here doesn't seem like he wants to join in on the action, so sadly no joy there. He's heading off. But they could well be following another herd of elephants. There was lots of tracks coming on down to this waterhole, and who knows, maybe another herd may pop in at any moment. It's very thick vegetation here. Oh, looks like bath time's over for him. LJ, you say swimming elephants is your favorite thing besides, of course, baby elephants, which means your favorite thing must be baby elephants swimming, which sadly doesn't happen that often that I've seen. They kind of splash around in small mud wallows, but I've never seen baby ellies ever going into kind of deeper stretches of water like this one. This isn't very nice of you. You shouldn't be doing this just because you finished your bath, because nobody else is going to have to come and bath in here. But elephants often do this. They just leave these floating bran muffins behind as they head off on their way. There go the muffins. Quite a healthy sized batch he baked there. And interesting that they managed to bake and deliver those muffins about every 45 minutes to an hour. They eat so much vegetation that they obviously need to expose of a lot of it. Coolio, you're wondering if there are any alligators here. I think I may not have heard the question clearly, but no, we don't have any alligators here in Africa. We just have crocodiles, and it's the Nile crocodile that would inhabit the water in this part of the country and most of Africa. They're very widely spread through the continents. And we have had some sightings. There's the hippopotamus that I was talking about earlier, at least one of them. And a few years ago, we used to, well, there was a period where we used to view a crocodile in this waterhole, but he's moved off, and we haven't been certain that one's moved back here. But you do always need to be extremely careful with crocodiles, because they can be very sneaky and surprise you at any time. Now, because things have quietened down at the waterhole, we're going to say goodbye to everyone who just joined us for that brief bit of action with Ellie swimming. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you stay tuned for any further action a little bit later on. Okay. Oops. I wasn't supposed to speak there, everyone, when I went okay, but I think I will be allowed to speak shortly. Okay, so everybody, welcome back, and I'm just gonna start getting to grips with the Rover and work out exactly how to get everything up and running. I managed to deploy him, but not quite too effectively, but we're gonna play around now, get to grips with it. Well, let's just have a quick look at what's landed on top of it. It looks like a robber fly. It is a robber fly. How cool. Now, this little insect is using a Ronald as a platform from which to pounce on any prey. So They are predatory flies, these. They'll fly off and literally tackle their prey in the air using those big legs, which have got lots of little spikes on them to wrap around. Anyway, we're going to keep playing, keep an eye on this insect, and send you off to something very, very exciting with Noelle.
Hello, everyone. Hello. We have found Tandy as well as her tiny little cub. Her tiny little cub is just up the pathway, a little bit to her back and left. I can just see the little ears poking out in the background here. So she's moved from where, just straight in the back there, I can see just there. Perfect. There goes the little cubbo. Yay! Uber cuteness. So she moved quite a distance from where Herbie saw her, but Herbie's location was a good one, and Davi and I weren't too far off from this morning, and actually what helped us find them was Franklin's. Franklin's were alarm calling, and then we had to do a little bit of crazy maneuvering to get here, and they have found this beautiful little shady spot. Now, I believe when we first got in, the cub was busy nursing, and it's just gone off for a little bit now. We're not going to go far from where we are. You can't really fit any more vehicles in here, and also we haven't had a chance to see Tandy and this little one for a very long time. So for any new viewers out there, Tandy is one of our resident female leopards. She and her sister Shadow have sort of split up their mother Karula's territory, and Tandy's taken over quite a bit of this area, and it seems as if Shadow's moved a little bit south. Now Shadow has a youngster that's about a year old, and then Tandy's little one is... We're in January, hey, mid-January. So just 3 months, roughly 3 months. I believe Tristan and James first saw Tandy pregnant and then with the nursing marks and going into a termite mound the first week or first 9 days in November. And then we're a little bit past that now to January, so that would be just about 3 months. Now, Megs, I'm so sorry. I heard a question a little bit, but I had turned down the audio, so I don't know if you want to maybe send through that question again. I'm very sorry for not hearing that. So again, for any new viewers that we have, I hear from directors that are in the final control. I see Tandy and her cub, as am I, and as is Davi. Shame, this mama is very tired. So she moved quite a bit this morning from where we had her tracks to where we thought she was to where she ended up being to where she is now. She's moved around a couple of kilometers. It doesn't look like she is extremely full, but it doesn't look like she's thin. I think she has eaten recently enough. And if I'm oh, the cub's coming, the cub's coming. If I'm feeling this heat, they definitely are. The cub's coming just from the back. Look, 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 look. So I want you to notice something. Notice how relaxed Tandy was with us, and the cub moved away. Then the cub comes back, and she gets a little bit like, my cub. Not that she's not a good mom, but it's, you know, that's a lot of teeth and a lot of claws, and she's hot. So when she's looking at us and doing that little bit of a snarl, it's 2 reasons. 1, she's a little bit annoyed with her cub, and then 2 is just to remind us that we must stay where we are. Michelle from the United States, you're curious to know, is the cub male or female? So Tristan has called female, and I believe Steve the other day when he spent some time with the cub called female. I haven't seen the cub since the 1st of January, and when I saw it on Christmas Day, I was thinking possibly a male with the size of the paws and a little bit of yellow under the tail there. It's still a little bit young for me. I have a feeling, look, I've worked with Tristan and Steve on and off for many, many years. So I'm now starting to hedge towards their thoughts, but I want to give this cub another couple of weeks, and I also just want to spend some time here today and investigate the back end to hopefully see if we can once and for all put a pin in it. So my answer is not quite sure, not 100% sure yet. I'm sorry, that's just too cute. It's hard in a sighting like this because you want to give facts and talk about what's happening, but for me as well, I mean, look at the uber cuteness. Look at that. Linda, you're saying adorable. So adorable. So adorable. Now, you can actually see the way that Tandy's lying. Notice how under her tail there, you didn't see any big round fuzzies that would be testicles. That's where we're looking for to decide whether male or female. And it takes a couple of months, let's say 2 to 3 months, for those testicles to drop. Justin, you're saying also quite adorable. And look at those eyes, and it's so true. They are absolutely magnificent, and they're starting to come into their color that they will be for the adult period. So when they're little, they're blind, and then the eyes go blue, and then they go from blue, bright blue, to more of a hazel, green, yellowy color. And then each leopard has its own particular shade of eye color. So, for instance, Mvula, one of the large male leopards we were chatting about this morning, he's called Mvula because his eye color is like the rain. It's got a bit more blue. Asana, who we saw yesterday afternoon, has very yellow eyes. Tandy, to me, has a sort of golden sheen to her eyes. She's half closing them at the moment, but maybe we'll get a view a bit later. She's a tired mama. So she will now... Look, the area that we're in is a really wonderful area. There's a big termite mound with a lot of holes. It's hard to see from the angle that we're at. It's in a nice thick drainage line. There's a lot of places for the cub to hide. Also little trees for the cub to go in. So for me, this would be her sort of third and final den site until she starts moving the cub a little bit more. Now, I believe Scotty D has the Rover out and about where he is, and I think he would like to show you how he's playing around with it. So let's head on up to him, and we're going to stick here with Tandy and her youngster, and we'll see you all shortly.
Well, it sounds absolutely incredible with Tandy and her cub. I'm sure you guys are all having a wonderful time over there, as are we here at the Waterhole. I'm just getting to grips with this wonderful device called Ronald the Rover that you saw down at the water's edge there briefly, and I'm just learning how basically to turn everything on, get all the transmissions working. There's a screen that I can look at just below me here to see what Ronald's actually filming, and this is the remote control, which seems to be working back to front. If you pull the remote back, it goes forwards, and if you turn it left, it turns right. But I'm getting used to it, and hoping that some elephants or some other animals will come down to the water's edge for a drink. So that's what we are hoping for. And now that you are down at the water's edge, let me take you a little swivel around to show you the view. Try and do it nice and slow, but not too slow. There we go. Nobody coming down to drink, and then there we are. Hello. That's us back there. So, yeah, I'm not too sure whether to keep moving or stay here in the hope that some other animals come down for a drink. It's a tricky one. What I'm thinking is that it might be best to head off and see if we can play with it as we go. I was just discussing with VM how one of these would be quite good fun if we possibly can get permission, and one of them up in the Masai Mara. And we were discussing how it might need to be a little bit different there. And VM suggested that it needs to be able to travel at 100 miles an hour to be able to keep up with Cheetah. So, stay tuned to watch what may happen with VM and the design of the next Ronald the Racing Rover. Like I said, I've got to bring it back here now. So let me bring it back. And while I bring it back, we will send you... No, we're not going to send you anywhere. We're going to take you for a bundu bash through the fresh green grass. Shame there's not much grass around at the moment, and I'm hoping we get some rain soon. It doesn't sound like there's been too much rain since I've been away for 2 weeks, so let's hope that changes, because this area definitely is much drier than it used to be. Come on, Ronald, you're doing a great job. Huh. Walt, you'd like to know if they still pump water into any of the water holes here in the Sabi Sands, and yes, they certainly will. Which water holes are being pumped into at the moment, I'm not too certain. So yeah, I'm not too sure which dams are being pumped. I think this one is not. I think this is just all natural water here, but I am not too clued up on what's happening with regards to the pumping of the exact water holes that we see, but it definitely does still happen here in the Sabi Sands Walt. So let me pick up old Ron now. Come on, you're coming home. Yeah, they're such cool machines, and for those of you who may have joined Safari Live recently, you must know that we haven't really been using all this wonderful machine as much as we could. So I'm looking forward to a lot of time spent with it, because you can just get such wonderful low angles when you use it, and we can't certainly get as close and as low an angle as we can on the vehicles, nor can we get as low and as close to things as one can do on the bushwalk. It sounds like Steve has found something he would like to show you.
Not really, thanks though, Scott. We haven't really found too much apart from a little bit of heat and sweat, and it is a lovely warm day today, folks, but we are loving it. We're trying to stick to the drainage line, but unfortunately it seems when we're really in the drainage line you don't seem to get our signal, so we're just above it now, trying to sort of jump from shade to shade. Most of the animals that you will find this summer day will be in the shade. We passed some impala and we managed to round those warthog eventually. They were also just sort of keeping to the shade of the tall trees. Very important for their survival to have tall shady trees for this time of year. Safari Dream would like to know, what is the worst encounter? That is always a very interesting question. Don't know how you describe the word worst, but I've had pretty crazy encounters, so maybe I should just pick one and go with it. Nice in the shade here. Always happy, I'd say. Lots of encounters. Most of them in the Kruger National Park, and what's very good question. We have moved down into the drainage to get a little bit of shade, and once again our signal is low. So let's move on from here. So folks, we're going to try to figure out our signal issues down here, and while we do so, we're going to go over to my friend Brent up in the Masai Mara, who I believe has found you some cheetahs.
Yeah. Yeah, still enjoying the Mara. We are here, and the sun seems to be going home. That does not mean we are going home, because this is one thing you want to do all your life, and it couldn't be better just driving around, enjoying the savannah. The grass is quite tall now. This is what we call the elephant grass. Sometimes you'll call it the Themenda troyandra, and it may wait until the wildebeest come here the next 3-4 months and they'll just bring it down. So still big fun to be here and looking what is happening in terms of the day ending. Beautiful, beautiful evening as we are coming to close of the day. Go ahead again. Say that again, please. Davies, good question. We got another 3 months. The weather pattern the last few years has become a little bit erratic in this part of the world. But ideally, March, April is when we expect the long rains. Short rains around October, November, sometimes before Christmas. But the long rains is anything March, April, and they're really long and they're very, very, very heavy. And then shortly after is when the wildebeest will be coming. Thank you for that question. Good. We can hear from a distance the dove saying it's time to go home, have a drink, work harder, And Noel, tell us what is happening in South Africa. But Kenya, so far, so good. Tell us how your temperatures are. Well, it's cooling off a little bit because here the weather is pretty good, has cooled off. It's feeling very well right now. Right to you, Noel.
Are very flat, and you can see by their breathing just how hot they are. Now remember, they don't have sweat glands like we do, covered in fur, so they have to pant and breathe quite heavily to cool themselves down, and also lay in the shade. So the shade that she's chosen has a little bit of nice cool grass, as well as some soil that'll be a little bit cooler, and there's a very slight breeze coming through, but it's a very warm day. So one of the reasons why something like a leopard will choose to hunt when it's cooler and or at night, depending, is because of the heat like this, their brain can actually overheat and stop functioning. Now a cheetah, like what we saw last night with Tristan or what we see up in the Mara, has a very special brain casing that allows their brain to get more hot, to get warmer than a cheetah's or a lion's when they're running long distances, and also for being out in larger areas and having more access to daytime hunting. It's not that leopards won't hunt in the day, but I mean, especially right now, it's a real waste of energy to do any sort of hunting. And again, you might over exert yourself. Very similar to us. If it's 35 degrees, 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's the middle of the day and scorching sun, and you go for a very long run, the chances of getting heat stroke are good. Aaron, hello. Thank you for the question. I believe that you are 9 years old and you're busy watching Safari Live. I hope you're enjoying. Aaron, you're wondering, does the cub eat food yet? Does it eat meat yet, or only nurse? Aaron, right now it's going to nurse a bit more than it eats meat, but it will eat some meat if it has the opportunity. So Tandy's been doing something really interesting, Aaron, where she's actually been bringing parts of kills, especially things like baby impala, to the den sites, which is it's not an abnormal behavior, but it's not something that happens often, and the cub will eat off of that. But the cub is nursing more than eating meat, and then as the months go on, it's going to slowly wean off the milk and switch over completely to meat. Good question, Aaron. Shame, the cub looks like an appendage of Tandy. It doesn't even look like itself unless you look at it closely enough. Also, just so the last time I saw this cub was on the 1st of January. It's now the 15th of January, so that's 2 weeks. I just want you all to have a notice. Its colors are coming out a lot more. So it's still little, and it's still a little bit darker than Tandy, but you can see because it's growing, you're starting to see more of the distinct rosettes. They were always there, but what happens when they're smaller is they're tinier, so the rosettes are closer together, and then as it grows, obviously the skin grows with it, similar to how we function, and then you're starting to see a more displayed pattern where there's a little bit more white and tawny stuck in there. I was developing some of my photos from the last sighting I had for our first morning drive of the new year, and was having a look at how teeny tiny it was, and now I'm looking at it, and it's, I wouldn't say double the size, but it's definitely much bigger in these 2 weeks. It's growing very quickly. This breeze is lovely. I bet Tandy's saying the same thing. The flies are starting to bother her. I think if we give it a good, say, hour, we're going to get some nice movement. We might get a little bit more suckling. And then I have a feeling from the tracks that we saw this morning and then where she ended up, I have a feeling that she's probably going to go out hunting again as it gets cooler. She's going to leave the little cub here. So I think we're going to try and stick with this as long as we possibly can. I know they're very flat right now and it's a little bit harder to see, but for me it's still exciting because the potential is there, the potential for the movement and the contact comfort where they groom each other and touch each other, and the potential for the cub to start jumping around is all here. All right, well, I believe David, who's on interview with us, and it sounds like David is doing an excellent job, is still up there in the Masai Mara, and he's busy looking at something on the road. So let's head back up to him and see what he wants to tell us.
What a way to end the day, having spoken all the good words I know about the LBR, or the lilac-breasted roller. She just comes on the road saying thank you for saying good things about me. She looks like a female to me. She was feeding, and I can't believe she's like, thank you, David, and what a blessing, and what a flight. See the beautiful colors I was talking about there before, and this marks to us a great day with my lilac-breasted roller. I think we had a viewer earlier there by the name of Juma who was asking about my favorite bird, and it's such a blessing to end the day with that bird there saying thank you, and David, have a great evening. What a day, what an ending. Yes, coming slowly, and again we are meeting. Marianne, it's very rare to see birds pretty close to humans. That doesn't really happen. I would say today was a good omen for us, and what a day to see that lilac-breasted roller coming saying hello to us. It doesn't normally happen. Birds in general are quite skittish. Maybe the flamingos when people go near them in the lakes, but the normal birds in the wild in Africa are really skittish. But this particular one, I think it was just thanking me for putting all the good words about it in this world that I know about. Yeah, good question there, Marianne. Sinak, the lilac-breasted roller, they're basically like flycatchers, very similar family to the flycatchers, and they'll go for locusts, grasshoppers, flies, sometimes even bees, butterflies, crepuscular insects like, the moth, they'll go for them. But in general, they feed on insects. They more go for flies, and that's why they have the whiskers a little bit just below the base of the beak. Good question, Simak, there. Good. We're slowly heading home, and Scott, tell us what's happening on your world. And I would say here we're having like a good sunset. We shall keep looking at it and find out who else will be telling us good night before we end the day. Right to you, Scott.
Seems as if Scotty D has a little bit of gremlins, a little bit of a technical difficulty. So sorry about that. Don't forget we are live, so anything that happens to us, you all get to participate in, and that's all the good, and then all of the little niggles that happen with losing signal. So we've got this antenna on the back of our vehicle that radiates our signal out, and sometimes in areas with very thick bush or down in little drainage lines, it doesn't go out as much as it should. Now, luckily enough, as you crash cut over to us, came to us, you have a beautiful view of Tandy. She's lifted up her head and she's looking around. Still very hot and panting, but it's nice to be able to see her face. And you can see her very, very long whiskers. Leopards use those whiskers to help them in feeling when they're hunting. So they'll crouch down really low and they move very slowly forward at first. And those whiskers jut out at such a position from their face that it can feel any obstructions that's near them and around them so that they don't make too much noise. Julie, very good question. You're wondering when can we confirm the spot pattern of the cub. So if we zoom in on Tandy, sorry about that, Davi, as you're busy zooming out. If we zoom in on Tandy, you can see the very top whisker line, and just above it she's got 1, 2, 3 spots. That's part of her spot pattern. That's her left-hand side. The right-hand side will also have. They're born with those. So the cub already has his spot pattern. I believe some of you, after our sighting on the 1st of January, were going through and trying to have a look. When it's smaller and darker the way that it has been, it's a little bit more difficult to point out the exact ones, but we should see it any time from now. So hopefully today, if we get a nice little view of the cub, we can see what that pattern is. And now, as I'm saying that out loud, while you guys are busy looking at them, I'm going to see if any of my photographs might possibly have that spot pattern. Aha. So look, this is not the best, but you can see, I'm just looking for a little stick. You can see, here's the top whisker line for the cub, and just above it, can you see these dots? Those are the whisker pattern. So it's looking like a 3 on this side. This side's a little bit in shadow, but I'll have a look. This photograph, although I'm happy with the photograph, I'm not 100% happy. I had to do quite a lot of work with it to get it to come out nicely, but it's not the sharpest image. It's just cute. So that's what we would be looking at. And we will see today, because our cameras are so good that we might possibly be able to pick it up a little bit better. Also, some of you, that same sighting I was just showing you now, some of you had some beautiful screenshots. So if any of you have those screenshots, we can definitely have a look there. All right, Steve-O is on a bushwalk, and Steve-O loves a good tree, so I think let's head on over to him so that he can tell you about whatever tree he's found.
Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we have been meandering through the drainage line, trying to find you a magnificent specimen, and we have found it. Apart from all the technical issues, as you must understand, we have a backpack with Seb, and if we're in the drainage line, they are not getting our signal. So we've now got my man perched on top of a termite mound, and lo and behold, the tree that we wanted to talk about itself is growing out of this marvelous termite mound, and I wonder if anyone out there knows what tree this might be. There's been all sorts of elephant damage to it. I can hear some yellow-billed hornbills up and above in the canopy. I'm not sure if they're breeding in this tree, but this is one of the marvelous trees we find in the area. I wonder if anyone can comment quickly and tell me what they think it might be. But while we wait, there are some topics about this tree we can talk about. And the bark itself, as you can see, elephants have come and damaged the bark here, and the bark of this tree is actually quite good for sorting out any form of headache that you might have, specifically to do with hangovers. So the old story of the elephants eating too many marulas and getting drunk, apparently when they do that, this is the tree they come and visit afterwards to heal any headaches. And we can ourselves actually take strips of this bark and make it into a decoction, which means boiling it for about 8 to 10 minutes and then drinking the liquid. That liquid will cure heartburn as well as headache. Kestrel Fox says jackleberry. No, I'm afraid that is not correct. The bark here, there's these cracks in the bark. It's got a bit more of a greyish tinge to it. But if I jump to the back here where Seb is, see if I can pull down a branch and actually show you one of these leaves. Okay, very good. Here we go. Ziggy says a leadwood. No, Ziggy, it is not a leadwood. Here I have the branch for you in my hand. It's not the best example in the world, but the leaves are actually compound. And if you remember, when we talk about compound leaves, it means that there is a lot of leaflets. That entire thing is the leaf, but what should happen is there should be another leaflet on the end, like that. And this, anyone? I'm going to give you the answer. It is the Scotia brachypetala, which is known as the weeping boer bean, and unfortunately the flowers ended in about September, October time. These beautiful red hanging flowers, and the name weeping boer bean comes from the fact that there's actually so much liquid or nectar seeping out of those flowers that it looks like it's crying. And the fact boer bean, boer meaning farmer, the Afrikaans farmers that were here many, many years ago, that name is derived from that. And the bean itself, well, here are the beautiful flowers. And the bean itself is actually a substitute and was used as a substitute for coffee. hence the name boer bean. The early settlers to these areas would have utilized these trees for many, many reasons. And it is an absolutely fantastic tree in the flowering season. These flowers that are dripping with honey, the birds and the bees in this tree are almost unbelievable. And we can spend minutes, hours just looking up into one of these trees and just exploring what's going on. From a food point of view, giraffe, elephant, baboon, nyala, all sorts will eat the leaves. I mentioned the elephants feeding on the bark as well. But the young leaves, definitely by black rhino, baboon, kudu, and giraffe. So we found our wonderful tree. It is a tree for the party goer, the person who enjoys to have one too many the night before, but nice to probably have some in surplus. You don't have to walk 4.5 to 5 Ks, 2.5 miles to find your hangover cure. Maybe have some in preparation. And while we continue on our meander, we're going to change our route slightly to get out of the drainage line so we can get some video and some footage for you. And while we do so, Mr. Scott, I believe, is bumbling, as shall we. Let's go, Mr.
Well done to those of you who got the weeping boer bean correct. And for those of you who didn't, best of luck next time. We have dipped into the Milwaukee riverbed system. This is not a road, it's a riverbed that makes the most wonderful roads on the property. And we had some female leopard tracks heading in this section. We used the tracks about half a mile away from here. They seem very fresh. I'm feeling that maybe it's not just going to be Tandy and a cub that you get lucky enough to see, but could be a shadow, not too certain. So, that's what we're hoping to find: a leopard. This yesterday, which was a big surprise for those of you who were. And there may also be some rumors of Brent. If I found some Kenya, so maybe a little bit later. For now, though, you're going to be heading all the way back up.
Yep, coming to the end of the day here, and such another beautiful day. We got all the beautiful trees lined up to our right there, and the Mara has different vegetations. I mean, if you go around, you'll see we have the liver rainforest, you have the marshes, you have the savanna, you have the cliffs, we have the escarpment. If you look on my left there, and the days when you go out, you don't see as much game, but there still be a lot of beautiful stuff to watch. The features around here are equally engaging, and you'll still keep looking, and every few clicks, every few kilometers you drive, you'll come to a different landscape to enjoy. Sometimes you just go out there, don't see a lot of game, have a little bit of a change by just enjoying the freshness of the air. The Mara, pure air, clean, open, huge space. And the Balanite sometimes, where we get the leopards or cats hanging out there, or the vultures coming to do their nets, would just be nice. Just stop, watch, see some little fights on vultures on top of us trees, fighting for space, fighting for homes. It'll always be very, very interesting to see what happens out there. The marshes also are equally good. Yes, and that sounds like we'll be ending our day today, and hopefully, Brent, we're doing well with the Musketeers today. Let us know what is new with the Cheetahs. Do you think they brought someone else down, or they were down with the Hartebeest? Brent, let us know. All the way to you.
Well, we're still with Miale and her young male. They've just got up. The weather has just changed exponentially. It is now all of a sudden really windy, and could make for some good hunting. The temperature has dropped exceedingly low in a very short space of time. Now, update on those leopards that we went looking for. Unfortunately, we found where they were, and there was the smell of a carcass, but all that was there were about 6 hyenas. And managed to thieve it from them. But we will definitely be playing the patience game with these two and hoping that they're about to go off on the hunt. Ravinda would like to know, do cheetahs hunt on a full belly with the same speed? Well, when they've got a very full belly, Ravinda, they tend not to hunt at all, unless something sort of trips over them and stands on them. But for the most and not much. Here we go. Who's up? It's the little boy doing the stretch there, not Mum. I think he's harassing the Egyptian geese we saw earlier. I can hear them honking away. And the lapwings are starting to shout as well. Now I'm hoping they're going to head in the direction where we are. There's a lot of tommies, some zebra, but the grass is very short, which could make hunting a little bit more difficult. They might hunt quite late this evening, but we will be here. What are you up to, nonsense? And you can see how strong the wind is. We're obviously quite zoomed in, and the bumping of the camera is actually just from the howling gale we're facing at the moment. So they are up, and it does look like they are heading in the direction I predicted they would. Not quite ready to really get on the move just yet. Jay says, I love watching these two. Me too, Jay, me too. I've spent some wonderful hours with these particular two cheetah, and I intend to spend quite a few more hours in the future with them. But from true spots across to rosettes on Juma.
Cheetahs with Brent, yay! I'm hoping he manages to get around and get another view. Our view hasn't changed, but we're in the long game here. We're in the patience game, as it were. It's interesting moving from full-time guiding now to presenting. You end up in these really fantastic scenarios like this sometimes, where we get to sit here for long periods of time and really watch and view and film and share with you all at the same time. Whereas, not all the time, but sometimes you would sort of move away because a sleeping leopard's a sleeping leopard. But we know, oh, Kushoy, so cute. But we know that our patience and perseverance is definitely going to pay off, and we have so much space and movement and allowance to be able to do that with all of you. So the flies are biting them more and more. The temperature has come down. As you can see, the cub is getting a little bit restless, which is exactly what we were hoping for, so that it moves around. No, not there. Vinda, you would like to know what is my favorite apex predator and why. From a vehicle, out of the big five, I enjoy leopard. From on foot, it's lion. And then if I take not the big five and I add in cheetah and wild dog with the Magnificent Seven, it's wild dog. So this morning we were super lucky and got some dogs. I really enjoy wild dogs, but I enjoy wild dogs when they're moving and hunting and watching the dynamics there. Something like the sighting we have right now with this leopard and cub. This is a really special sighting. I can only count on one hand how many times I've been able to show guests a sighting like this. And I think thus far just in the past 3 weeks, we have been able through Safari Live to see this cub at least twice a week, which is, I don't even think everyone understands just how lucky we are that this is possible. So yeah, I can't pick an exact favorite. They all have their different virtues. For right now, this is my favorite because it's just too cute and I can't even handle it. And I'm also just very grateful and respectful of the fact that she's letting us sit this close. Alright, now the cub has decided to lie down again, and Mum is out. So I think let's head back to Steve on Bushwalk, who has another tree for us, and let's learn a little bit about all of the foliage that's around with him while we wait for these cats to get active.
Another magnificent specimen of this weeping boer bean, ladies and gentlemen. And we've walked probably about 200 yards from the previous one, and once again we are on a termite mound. And the reason I wanted to stop was just to, it's difficult to talk too much about one tree at one time, but what we've seen here, and what Seb is focusing in on, is the fact that the bark has been damaged, and there are holes in the bark here from wood borers. And if we go down on the ground here, wood boring insects, you can actually see the process of the wood borers. If you've ever used a drill before in your life, that sawdust that comes from it, that is essentially what's happening here with these holes. And the elephants, by damaging the bark of this tree in their party rituals, have exposed this tree to attack by insects. And the wood borers have been boring these holes. Woodpeckers and the like will go in there to harvest those boring beetles. But we have a number of ant species. I can't identify them, but they're living within the cracks of this tree. The tree itself, when the bark is punctured, gives off a lot of resin and a lot of sugar, and that sugar would be quite nicely taken up by a lot of your ant species that aren't able to tap into the bark itself. But this tree has nearly been completely ring-barked by elephant. But once again, it is only the second specimen we found this afternoon, and is on a lovely termite mound. And I don't see any pods in the tree at the moment. I'd like to show you one of the pods, because the pods, as I said, you can make coffee, and when you roast them, they are edible. But what is awesome is that in the termite mound itself, we've actually found a little baby. But we're going to stay here with this in the shade for a moment, and we're going to quickly link you over to Brent, who has some cheetah.
A Kori bustard. Cheetahs. Now, let's zoom in on the cheetahs there quickly, Adrian. I want to see, from what I could see, it was only a little male who was showing a little bit more. Kori bustard. Very interesting to see if that little male decides to make a dash. And we do apologize for a little bit of breakup we're getting here. We are coming to you 100% live from the middle of the African bush. At the moment, I think that Kori bustard's got enough space that he'll be able to... There we go. Had enough space to get airborne. I apologize again for the black screen. Well, maybe that'll be enough to get Mom up on the move. The little male did chase the Kori bustard, who managed to take off in enough time to escape. Now, let's go to Mom quickly. It looks like she's being dive bombed by some lapwings. They've given up now. No, they're still coming in. And when she stood up, they started dive bombing her. Now that she's laying down again, they've stopped. And they might be coming in. I'm just trying to see. It's quite difficult. I'm looking straight into the sun at the moment. Here we go. Incoming lapwing, but they're just going to fly past, I think, yes. No, they've gone to attack the young male instead. Let's go to the male quickly. There we go. You can see the lapwings flying around. So obviously they have a nest somewhere close by. Incoming, zoom, but they're not getting too close to the cheetah. Flop. Flop. after his unsuccessful bustard hunt. Well, now that that's over, let's go back across to Steve, who's still wandering around on Shank's pony.
And you're back with us, folks, with our baby Scotia that was not hunting a Kori bustard. As much as I would love to see cheetahs hunting, I would hate to see them take down a bird such as a Kori bustard. That would just be a very sad day for me. They are such special birds, the largest flying bird, heaviest flying bird in Africa, I do believe. And you've come back to us, and we are still on our termite mound, and you just saw a little visual there of the baby. And the baby is directly underneath the parent. Well, I'm guessing it's the parent, unless it was deposited here by some other form. And that begs the question, why are these boer beans growing on these termite mounds? And if you can see the damage done to the base of this tree by elephants, I suppose the ones that are quite low down get more damage. So first of all, the termite mounds provide a bit of height, a bit of elevation. They provide nice sort of runways or tunnels for the roots to go through, much easier than trying to bury yourself or the roots into very hard soil. And also termite mounds like this, as you've discussed, are the fungus growing termites. They require lots of moisture, so they have tapped into the water table. We do find these trees on drainage lines because of the water, and we are quite far away. We're actually on a little bit of a elevated spot here, so that's probably why it's here as well. But then also the pods are eaten by baboons and such, and they will come along and do exactly what I'm doing, sitting on a termite mound like this, sort of having a look at what's going on. And when they defecate and one of the seeds falls into a little gap in the termite mound, lo and behold, like this little fellow we have here, it is growing, and hopefully it will survive. But it's not very far from the ground. It's only about 3 or 4 feet from ground level. And so unfortunately what will happen, because of the nutrients in the soil here, a herd of impala walking through will probably nibble that guy, and it won't get much bigger than it is. Hopefully it'll get bigger, but I doubt it'll get into the same size as this one. But when we talk about trees, we talk about fruiting. What's the objective of fruit and seeds? Obviously fruit is digested or aimed to go into an animal's gut and then to go a long distance and then deposit it somewhere else. But in the case of this one's probably just fallen from the tree and got purchased there and is growing. But the competition that it will now generate with the adult here, yes, it'll take some time, but the roots are going into the same sort of area. They're competing for the same. They will be for shade, definitely. The sun is now sort of more that side, but be competing for light, be competing for energy. The idea behind fruit is it gets eaten and deposited through a digestive system 5, 6 to 12, 15 hours later, depending on the animal. Yeah, so wonderful termite mounds coming into all sorts of play in our repertoire this afternoon. And what a lovely place to sit and relax. The breeze is quite nice. I can imagine myself being Tumbo the other day. Sorry, Tumba, I get that wrong, apologies. Who was sitting on that termite mound looking at the impala around. We are not looking for impala, we're looking for anything else, but we're going to continue on this way and keep up with our discussion on the small and little things. Me and my trusty stick. So as we continue on, following closely behind Herbie there, we're going to go back up to the Mara with
the Kori bustard, after being chased, has meandered back down the hill towards the waiting young man. But I think the Kori bustard is well aware that the cheetah is there, so I don't think he's going to get as close as he did last time. And maybe the youngster has learnt his lesson that the Kori bustard might be a little bit wiser than he is at the moment. And you can see he's just rolled over, turned his back to the Kori bustard, and is taking no note whatsoever. sure you can hear the wind that is buffeting us at the moment, and it has got a bit cooler. And there's the Kori bustard doing another walk. Vincent would like to know, how many cubs did Miale start with? I'm not sure, Vincent. Well, he's up. I'm not sure. Since I've been seeing her, she's only had one, but Cheetah very seldom give birth to one cub. She probably started with as many as 4, or maybe even 5, and only one has survived. But I'm not 100% sure how many cubs she started with. Miale is still down, not moving. The cub is, as we can see, still up. And so they're quite hungry. They didn't succeed in catching anything last night or this morning. So there's a good chance they are going to hunt. And there he goes, flops down again. Lazy critter. The Kori bustard. Animals. Oh, there's a predator around. They will come for a closer inspection. But while we wait to see what happens next out here in the wonderful Masai Mara, let's go across to the other side of the Mara.
Excellent. To all of you, my audience for today, may I say a very big thank you. Thank you for being there for me. Thank you for listening to me, and great to have hosted.
Don't worry.
Very good, and great to have had you, as my guest on today's great experience of Safari Live. Please be happy to be our guest every time on hashtag Safari Live. And thank you, Megan and the crew in FC. Marianne, it's not humid, it's very cool now, and if you come, it's very, very good weather. So we are talking about 20 degrees centigrade. Great weather at the moment in the Mara. Marianne? So, can I say earlier, thank you everybody, and thank you for being.
What weather do the animals like the most?
It depends on which animal we are talking about, and I can tell you there'll always be action going on, but in general is cool weather. Everybody's happy when the temperatures are not very high. When it gets very, very hot, very humid, they tend to look for shades, go under the trees near the water areas. But cool weather to many animals is very ideal for them. But it could be any time you'll get guys out there, but cool weather is pretty good for them.
It's a very cool bird.
Good. That looks like a marshal eagle out there. Huge bat there. I'm not sure Craig can get it. It looks like a big eagle. I'm not sure it's a marshal eagle, and could be finding out where to go for dinner for tonight. We'll close in a little bit. Hopefully she doesn't take off, and we'll be able maybe to identify who she is. But looks like a huge eagle, some of the largest eagles we got in Africa, pretty strong. They'll bring anybody down, including small little antelope babies or sometimes snakes or other birds. I mean, the big birds of prey. Let's see who exactly she is.
Well, young male still up, Miale still snoozing behind, and the wind is getting really cold at the moment, so it's got quite a lot chillier than it was maybe even half an hour. Easier for them to move. The Kori bustard is still wandering about, trying to get itself into a bit of trouble. As I say, it's probably about 20 meters from the cheetah at the moment. The cub join a male coalition, or would it stay solitary? Tom, if the opportunity arose for it to join a coalition, it would almost certainly join a coalition. It makes a lot more sense for it to join a coalition because it'll be able to control a bigger area and have a better chance at mating rights as it gets older. Lone do survive and do quite well, but it probably wouldn't be able to hold a prime territory like the one we are in at the moment. Well, we're going to keep playing the patience game with the... But
Yeah, we are very lucky. If you look on our left there, we got the black-chested snake eagle. There was a pair there. They were just about to mate. So we might get a little interruption there. Is a little... Yeah, Jeep, it's gone. Thank you very much. And the male just took off. But what we're seeing now is the female. And the male a few seconds ago was mounting it. And then I don't think she was in the right mood. So we'll see if the male will come back. And that's the black-chested snake eagle. Yeah, birds always got a challenge, as I had earlier said. You'll always mix them up. Initially, I had to make cameraman. That was the martial eagle. Then we just got coming closer, we found out. Yeah, it was still an eagle, but the black-chested snake eagle. I don't think much snakes will be coming out this time, and I don't think they could see them very well. But
Sally, could a snake kill a snake?
depends on the situation. Some snakes are very intelligent. Like say that, like the mambas are very, very intelligent. They have been known to bring eagles down, but in general, the eagles tend to win. But it has been found out in a few cases, Sally, that also snakes bring down the eagles. They're very clever, and more so to me, the mambas are some of the intelligent snakes I know about. They'll always pick them up with your clothes, sometimes fly high, let them come down, do that a few times until they know they're good to go. But at the same time, the mambas, for example, have been known to bite and bite very hard. And depending on what kind of toxin they have, if, say, something like hematoxin snakes, it very, very quickly comatoses the eagles and brings them down also, and they're not able to kill them. The snakes do survive. So Sally, yeah, snakes also equally fight back. And we have seen... James, in East Africa, I would categorically say, unless some other authority would say different, the crowned eagle is the strongest eagle we got in Africa, followed by the martial eagle. The martial have a big name, but to me, the crowned eagle, being a forest bird, I have seen it bring down a fully grown female antelope and killed it. So the crowned eagle, to me, is pretty powerful. They have been known also to take human babies. Occasionally, like where the villages we come from, there's a condition kids are born with called the jaundice, some yellowness in them. And in the villages, the mothers would put the kids out to get vitamin D, which easily fixes the condition. And if the mother goes in the house to do one thing or another, the crowned eagles, just like the vultures, would come and pick the babies and would eat them. So I would say the crowned eagles are the strongest birds we got in this part of Africa. Good. Brent, any other delicacy brought down by the cheetahs today, or they still think the hartebeest was good for the day? Over to you, Brent.
Well, we're still waiting for this lot to get moving. Sort of, I'm very hungry, Mom. When we're going to go hunting, please? But Miale still looking quite stately and calm, sitting there. And you can see their hollow bellies. For a another half before she gets off on the hunt. But as I said, we have a she decides park times we will be here. Kori bustard. No, not really, William, unless you're a lizard or aggressive. The males can fight with each other, but they generally prefer to display against each other for the affections. But while we wait patiently to see what happens next, let's go back across to David, who's on the move.
Very good. And again, as was thanking all of my audience, I should have also thanked Jamie for the big help for me in the background, being my day one on the interview and being out in the bush for the first time. She has done tremendously, very, very well. Jamie, a very big thank you. Asante Sana, as we locally say here. Cameraman Craig, who has been praying for me, who has done a very, very good job also. Thank you so very much, Craig. And to all of you, our audience, I want to say thank you for your support back there, and thank you for being there. And it has been a great day, and we'll see you again pretty soon. Bye for now, and have a very good one.
Oh, we've got one more question.
Sama, it depends on what you're doing, but you have to be very careful when you're on foot and seeing what you're exactly looking for. Just bring that question again, Megan, for me. Megan, just refresh that question again, please. A lot of things happen, but we'll always brief the clients very well before and gauging them on foot. And number one is like, should anything go wrong while on foot, you never run, you never scream. Number one, just obey instructions from your guide. So whatever he'll tell you to do, if stop is to back up slowly, but the guidelines are never scream, never run away. Just follow the rules or what your guide tells you on foot. And ideally, he'll be very well armed. We know our stuff, we know our thing when we're out there, but the big thing is you do not scream and you never, ever, ever run away. It could be worse if you decide to take off. All right, and yeah, let's hopefully someone's happy that answer as we head up. Very good, Brent. Time for us to keep going. Let us know what the cheetahs are thinking. The musketeers have really kept you busy the whole day, and it's time for us to go have a drink.
David, I'm with Miale. I left the musketeers this morning, and she's just jumped off the spot where she was sitting, and I'm gonna just try see if we can get a view of her. I'm not sure which direction she's going yet, but it seems to be there's some gremlins living right there, so I'm gonna try keep up away from her, up high, so we can see where she's going and plan our course of attack. Now the young males started running around and playing, which is a good sign that they're going to get moving shortly. So which way are you going to go, Madam Miale? Well, the young male's out in So apparently we're having some tech issues, folks, so apologies. So we're going to go across to the mountain cam, and while we fix it and